Hi, we are starting off a brand new video series this month. I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service. Today, we're going to do something a little different than what we've done in the past. We're going to talk a little bit about personality conflicts. One of the things when we talk about mental health, which we do a lot these days, I find that people really struggle because they just can't get along. There's always that one person in their family or in the organization they're a part of that they just can't figure out how to communicate with. So we're going to work through a 4-part series that talks about some of the very basic personality types. Now, for the purpose of this, it's going to be kind of fun, sharing some general information. If you're interested in information that's more in-depth, way more science-based, where you do all of the assessments and all of that, then we can definitely help you find some of those resources as well. There's a lot of stuff online. There's a lot of stuff out in the community. What we're specifically going to look at are some fun ones, and we're just going to use animals to kind of create that idea. So what I want you to do to start off with, we're going to switch pictures here. I want you to take your hands, just kind of shake them out, get them kind of loose, and then put them together with your thumbs crossed over. Can I get you to the camera? There we go. So that one thumb crosses over the other. Shake them out again. Just get them kind of loose. Put them together. One thumb will go over the other. The majority of the time, you have a thumb that is a preference to go on the top. Okay, so for instance, mine, the left one, pretty much ends up on the top. When I'm just not even thinking about it, just put my hands together. Now I want you to shake them out and put them together, but have that other thumb come out on the top. Shake them out. Let's try that again. It takes a little more thought. You have to focus on being able to do that, right? It's not as comfortable. When we talk about our personalities and our preferred methods of communication, it's the same thing. Some things are just habits. They come natural to us. Some things require specific thought and planning to make them happen. So we're going to look at the 4 basic personality types. Now, if you've been involved, there's a lot of different instruments out there that measure and do. There's a lot that revolve around the colors and some of the different perspectives with that. A lot of that's copyrighted information. I just want to remind you of that as you share things. But when we talk about those different perspectives, we can pretty much all agree it's going to come down to 4 basic types. Now, I met a wonderful extension agent from Oregon who shared this information with us, and I'm going to share it with you just to help you, like I said, get in that mindset of people have different preferences, people respond differently. Now remember, and you may have one specific preference in your business or organizations and groups you work with, and one at home where how you interact with your family. It's perfectly okay. And for the purpose of what we're doing right now, you're going to self-identify that anyway. The purpose of this is to help kind of get a feel for those different personality types, what works for you, and what may work for some of the other people that you're having to deal with on a regular basis to figure out what are some communication strategies to strengthen and improve those relationships. So basically, I said we're going to focus on these 4 types: the rooster, the golden retriever, the raccoon, and the owl. Today, we're going to start off by talking about the rooster. So what are the characteristics of a rooster? You can see my lovely rooster here with all his feathers. And so as we talk about characteristics, it's really easy, especially if it's not our specific preference, that we think about all of these things in the negative, or we only think about those negative characteristics, when the truth is they're not negative, okay? There's a lot of positive to all the different types, and having all 4 types is what makes things really successful and help us communicate well and work together and be a little more well-rounded. The roosters typically are going to be leaders. They stand out in a group. That's because they're outspoken. They're willing to stand up and say, no, this is what I think. Here's the information that we have, because they like to express themselves and they're very direct. Now, for a lot of us, that can seem very threatening. So that's one of those things that we're going to have to learn and figure out how to deal with. If we don't fall into this category, we can be a little taken aback if somebody is really direct and telling us exactly what they think. They also thrive on problem solving. When an issue comes up or something goes wrong, these guys are going to be right in there getting it handled. They're going to be able to identify the appropriate way to deal with that situation and make things happen because they're take charge kind of people. They're very assertive, and they like challenges. They're going to work with those things. The kicker here is they don't always realize how strong they're coming across, and that it may be a little off-putting. We may take it, sometimes even feel a little threatened because they're so direct in what they're saying and what they're sharing. We know these strong personality types. You've all thought of somebody very specific while I've been describing that, and maybe it's you yourself. So like I said, we know there's 4 pretty basic personality preferences, the types. This is what causes some of the conflict. When you look across movies, books, all of the different, we're going to do just some cartoons and different things that you see out there, TV shows, maybe your favorite, they tend to revolve around a cast of, 4 or 5 type of people that all fall into some of these specific areas. And of course, they make them to the extreme because that's what we relate to. That's what we find funny. So for instance, if we really think about The Wizard of Oz, I picked this one because it's kind of general, something most people will be familiar with. If we had to say, well, who is kind of the rooster in this group? They all have moments of being the rooster, right? Standing up and taking charge. But ultimately, throughout the entire thing, as he's working to get his brain, and then we find out later, he had a brain all along. He was a leader. The scarecrow would be who we would consider the rooster. Okay, same thing as we talk about groups of 4 that people are very familiar with that revolve around these different personality types. Scooby-Doo and the gang can also be divided up this way. So if we were going to identify someone as the rooster, I think we would talk about Velma. She's very analytical, but she's very direct. She puts it out there. Hey, this is what we need to do. When there is a problem, she's the first one to jump up and say, I have a solution. I know how to figure that out. So if you relate to those kind of characters, you might fall into this category. So what do you do when you are confronted with a rooster in your group, in your family? Some of us may have spouses or children who fall into this category as well. Like I said, the ultimate goal is not to judge or change someone else, but to have positive interactions and good communication. So how can we do that with a rooster? Well, first of all, if they're angry, let them express their anger. It's really hard for them when they have strong emotions, strong feelings. They're being direct, they're sharing information, and we're like, just calm down. Sometimes they need to express their anger. Now, it needs to be expressed obviously in a safe way and not be threatening to someone else. But you also then need to be direct and to the point. And for some of our other personality types, that can be very difficult. So it's something you really need to think about. And if possible, have choices available and say, here's the things that we think will work, or within the scope of what we can offer, this is what we can do, so that they have something to look at and to consider. And then discuss the results. Once we do it, these guys want to know what happened. Did it work? Did it not work? What can we do different next time? Because they're looking at those challenges and how to fix those things. Avoid giving them hidden rewards. If you give in to them every time because they're direct and, we feel threatened, we just don't want to deal with them, we'll just let them have their way, well, we've pretty much given them the reward for that behavior, and it's going to continue. So be aware of that. And then sometimes it does take just saying, I don't think you meant that the way that it sounded, or that sounded a little more threatening, or that sounded a little more angry, or I think maybe you hurt so-and-so's feelings because of the way that was stated. Because again, they're not always going to hear it that way. If we consider what we're looking at for different preferences within the personalities, we can have positive interactions among our groups, among our families. We can improve our own mental health by making that happen. Again, I'm Mindy Turner with the Curry County Cooperative Extension Service. This is our Personality Conflicts series, number 1. We will be back here for 3 more parts to discuss those other personality preferences. If you're interested in receiving our newsletter, or if you just have a question you'd like to ask, you can always log on to our website, curryextension.nmsu.edu, and you can click on Family Health and Wellness. And then there's a place there to submit either to receive the newsletter by email or hard copy, or to ask a question. And you never know when your question might be featured in one of our weekly broadcasts or one of our videos. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you can identify some of the roosters in your life and have a positive communication.